My name's Matt. I'm here to talk to you about an open source project that I've been working on for just over a year now called Omnisharp. Has anybody actually heard of it? Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Do I still need to give a talk? If you, no, so I've been working on this project for over a year, and it's something I'm really excited about, and I hope you guys will be too. So what is Omnisharp? Well, it's a series of tools and extensions to help you work with C# outside of Visual Studio. Why is that a good thing? So if we're all, we're probably all .NET developers in here, you're going to use Visual Studio day to day. It's a great tool. I mean, I really like it. I think it does a great job. It's got so much functionality in there, but it really is a penknife. And sometimes you don't want the penknife. Sometimes you just want a bottle opener to get yourself a beer, something like that. And that's when it becomes a bit of a problem. You know, when I want to write code, I don't want all these distractions. I don't want to be able to upload my project to Azure to buttons click or something like that. I just want to focus on the code. And that's lets itself down a bit. And I'm willing to bet that at some point in our career we've all done this. We've all gone and watched a Node video or a Ruby video, and we've seen people using text editors to write code, and you've gone, yes, this is a great idea. I'm going to close down Visual Studio, I'm going to open up Sublime, and I'm going to write C# code. And you do this, and you do it for about 2 minutes, and then you realize you can't do it, because C#'s not designed to be written in an editor. You know, it's a language with a large library. You need things like IntelliSense, you need refactoring. So you give up, and you go back to Visual Studio. So this is something that, this is where Omnisharp comes in. This is something we're trying to solve. This is a problem. We're trying to give you the choice to write C# code in whichever editor you choose. Okay? So this project was started back in 2011 by a guy called Jason Emerson. This is Jason. I've given this talk a few times, and this slide will never get taken out. This is the one slide that will always stay in, because I know how much he loves it. So Jason's a Vim guy, and as I'm sure you're all aware, Vim guys, they like to use Vim and only Vim, and they won't use anything but Vim. And back in 2011, he decided that he wanted to write C# code in Vim. And he was the one who could be bothered to actually go and write this extension. So he wrote this extension. He didn't really tell anybody about it because he's not that kind of guy. A couple of people found out about it, and it kind of disappeared. Well, it didn't disappear, he never really made it. Then about maybe a year to 18 months ago now, some guys tried to do the same thing with Sublime. It was about the same time another project came out called Culture. Has anybody heard of Culture? Okay, so that was obviously a massive hit, which was a project that a gentleman wrote to allow you to run VNext projects out of Sublime. You guys are aware of the new .NET project structure. CS projects have gone, XML's gone, we've now got JSON. Yeah? You all seen that? Great. So these two extensions came around, and it got a bit of an interest, and then it turned out some guys tried to do the same thing in Atom, and so on and so forth. And we now have extensions for some of the most popular text editors out there, which is great. So we've got extensions for Sublime, middle one's Atom, Vim, if you're slightly crazy, Emacs, if you're totally crazy. Just my opinion, just saying, I've tried so many times to learn Emacs, it's horrible. Does anybody know what this one is? Lots of people know what brackets is. The last time I gave a talk, I asked who used brackets, and nobody put hands up. And then this one in the bottom right corner, do we all know what this is as well? VS. No, boo. No, sorry, I can't say that. So this is VS Code, and it's been actually quite an interesting story with Microsoft. So we've been working with them for a while now, discussing with them. They kind of approached us and said they want to use Omnisharp within VS Code. We had some discussions, and we ended up using it, which is great. It would be really nice if it open sourced VS Code, but they haven't. Maybe one day they will, which will be great. I'd really enjoy that. So this is something I always do in my talks, is I kind of ask a question, who uses Sublime in the room? Okay, so there's quite a few. Who uses Atom? That's about the same. Vim? Wow. I best be careful what I say about Vim. Emacs, any Emacs users? One. Okay, I'll be careful with that as well. Brackets? So there's a few, yeah, and VS Code. All right, so it seems like Sublime and Atom probably got the market. So we created these extensions, and it's been going well so far. And I think, people have shown a bit of interest. This is the downloads as of last week. Brackets is at about 6,500, Atom 26, Sublime 12K. Vim and Emacs, I'm not sure about this stat, but when we look it up, because they don't have a package manager that records stats like the other editors, but we are getting a fair few clones a day. I'm a little bit skeptical about how many that is. So, how does it work? Well, there's two parts to the Omnisharp project. The first part is revolving around managing projects, creating classes within projects. And the second part is the actual editor extensions, which allow you to write C# code within your favorite editor. The first part we solve with something called Yeoman. Has anybody heard of Yeoman? Yeah. Okay. So few people know how it works. For those who don't, it's a scaffolding tool written in Node. It's pretty good. They have generators for everything from, I've written it down here, Angular through to PhoneGap applications. So there's a number of generators out there, and we've created our own for .NET projects. One important point to add here, we only have generators for DNX projects, for VNext projects at the moment. We're working on the older style projects as well, but that'll come in time. So that's how we kind of solve the first part of writing, .NET code and managing the projects. The second half is Omnisharp, the actual editor extensions. Now this works in kind of quite an interesting way, and it's quite simple. Each of the editors have an extension that is written in their own given language. So Sublime's written in Python, Atom's written in TypeScript, JavaScript, whatever. And these extensions are specific to the various editors, but they all talk to this one thing which we call the Omnisharp server. And it really is just that. It's a web server that sits on your PC. We initialized this web server, we started up, we pointed at a solution, and then we exposed a series of endpoints so that the editor extensions can actually make calls to request information about your project, and we'll return it. And then the editor extensions can do what they want with it. So it's actually quite simple. We have two versions. We have version 1, which was the original one written by Jason back in 2011. That was built using nRefactory, which is a static code analysis library that Mono developed and Sharp developed, I believe, still use for their editors. And it exposed the endpoints using a web framework called Nancy, which is a great framework. If anybody's ever used it, you should try it. Version 2 was written using something called Roslyn. I'm guessing by the amount of people who were in Scott's talk yesterday, we probably all know what Roslyn is right now. Yeah, okay, yeah. And that we built using Web API. Now we're actually close to depreciating version 1. We've almost moved all the functionality over. The last thing that's remaining is based around working with the old style, well, the current style of Visual Studio projects. So I'll cover Roslyn, but I'll do it reasonably quickly because I think most people know what it is. Ages ago, there was this compiler. You had a solution. You threw the solution at an exe, and out the other end popped a compiled application. You had no idea what went on in there, some magic voodoo stuff, no idea, and you just ended up with this code at the end of it. Oh, it's a good while ago. I don't remember the exact time I've been working on my Roslyn project, but it's been longer than I was surprised at how long we've been working on it. And Microsoft's idea was to create a new compiler and expose functionality and an API so that you can actually interact with your code as part of a compilation process. And this is great because it means you've been able to create these things called code analyzers and code actions, I think the other one is, which allow you to write your own refactorings. Now that might not seem like it's very useful, but we've actually started using that at work for encouraging specific behavior within our developers, let's say, making sure we don't write code in a way that we disagree with. So we've created our own analyzers and we're using them, and it's been to good effect too. You should take a look at that. Now, as part of Roslyn, which we interact most with as part of the Omnisharp project, this is called the Workspace Layer. Now, I think most people will recognize these things. You know, it's a tree-based structure. You have a workspace, has a number of solutions, which have a number of projects, which have a number of documents. And this is a good way to. This is how we do most of our interaction with Roslyn. Is you'll see when I do some demo. And as Scott mentioned again in his talk yesterday, the Roslyn source code is actually pretty interesting. There's some really interesting stuff in there. This website's good for having a look through it, having a bit of a research. It's great. I use it quite a bit. Normally, it results in me trying to find something that I need, only to find out that it's internal and I can't use it anyway. But you know, copy and paste. It's fine. Don't worry. Okay, so that's kind of what Omnisharp is. That's kind of roughly how it's built. But the aim of this talk is to, well, is to show you Omnisharp. It'd be a pretty rubbish talk if I never actually showed it. Still might not work, so you might not get to it. No, it'll be fine. So I'll show you a demo, and I figured the best way of doing a demo, let me get this right, was to demonstrate Omnisharp by building Omnisharp using Omnisharp. That's right, yeah, okay. So I figured we'd do that and we'd see how we go. Now, one clause I always put into my talks, which involved me writing live code, which I always regret when I'm stood on stage, is that, do you know, have you ever been in an office and you've been sat there coding away and everybody's happy and you're writing code, it's not a problem, and somebody will come and stand on your shoulder and maybe ask you a question, just say, you know, hey Matt, you know, how you doing? And they stand there for a while and then all of a sudden you lose completely the ability to type. Your fingers become like sausages and that's it, right? I've got an audience of a few people, gonna make mistakes, but this is also a good thing because the whole idea of this talk is to prove that Omnisharp is, you know, you can actually use it in production. It's a viable tool. So if I make mistakes, I've got to fix them just like we did in day-to-day. So that's good. I'm now going to pause whilst I actually figure out how to swap the screens over, so we'll see how this works out. This never works. Okay, people see that? Is that big enough? Sweet. Okay, I'm going to sit down for that. This, I've been provided a chair. I will use it. So, the first part, as I mentioned, was the Yeoman Generators. Now, to get hold of Yeoman, it's pretty simple. You can use the npm package manager, and that's the command: npm install yo. The -g globally, for people who don't know, it just means otherwise it will install it in your local directory. I won't run that now because I don't trust the internet connection. But after that's run, then you need to get hold of our ASP generators. Now, they have a convention where all of their generators, they're all in Node package manager, and they all start with the prefix of generator. Ours is called see, I'm already struggling with typing. Generate ASP.NET. And when you bring that down, that's all you need. You can then run a command right, and we get this little ASCII art guy. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I think we can all agree that if you have ASCII art, you're taken more seriously as a product. All right? So this is great. Welcome to the marvelous ASP.NET 5 generator. And below, you'll see we've got a number of options here, which you'd expect to see in Visual Studio. You've got empty application, you've got console application, web application, so on and so forth. And if we select web application, it says, what is your name? Let's call it dev day. Okay, now when this ran, it went off and it created a series of folders and lots of files within them. And you can see the typical stuff that you'd get when you create a new project. You've got the account controller, home controller, and so on and so forth, views, and everything else. So let's go into the folder. Now it says here you need to run a command, dnu restore. People know what dnu is? So with this new vNext project, thing that's brought along, and the whole idea that Microsoft's moving cross-platform, which is great, they've brought out a series of command line tools that are great for interacting with your project. dnu is for managing NuGet packages. So let's run dnu restore. This is getting to the point in the demo where things could really start to go wrong. Reliant upon internet connections and things. Come on guys, cross your fingers. Ah, it's doing something. Right. No idea what it's doing. No, wait. Come on. It was running a lot quicker earlier. I'll give it a couple more seconds and abandon it. Okay, this is a good start. I'll kill that. That would have gone off and it would have restored all the projects. I would have then been able to run a command called dnx.kestrel, who would have actually run the application. If you'd have seen it running, which would have been really nice, it's exactly the same as it is in Visual Studio. You know, it's the typical ASP.NET banner page and so on and so forth. But it's basically a project that nobody ever creates. All right, but that's only creating a project. You also have to be able to create files within there, and Yeoman gives you some functionality for that. And if we run this command, we can see it. It's got a series of sub-generators. It's got one for class, it's got one for JavaScript, MVC controller, and so on and so forth. And if we run one of these, and give it a name, we'll create the class. Notice what I'm using. Trying to make Vim people happy. It creates a class just as you'd expect it. So that's kind of the solution we've put out there to help you manage projects. So let's actually have a look at one of the extensions. So okay, so this is where the demo gets really tricky. I've created a couple of tags just in case things go really wrong. I hope I don't have to use any of those, but you know, if I do, yeah, we'll see how it goes, right? This is the one I really worry about. Okay, so let's open this up in Atom. It's opened. Okay, so this is a very basic project that I've created. It only really has two things of interest. It has the index.html file. This contains a very small HTML editor, a little text editor called Ace, which is really nice. People should check it out. And it's a white background. We can try. Better? Yeah? Good. Sorry. Great. Okay, and then we have this thing called a Roslyn controller, which I've got a couple of endpoints that I'm going to fill in later. Shrink this down a bit. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is install Omnisharp. If you bring up a command palette, go to install packages and search for a product called Omnisharp. So the internet is working. You'll see at the top there we've got Omnisharp Atom. I've got it installed at the moment. If you just clicked install, it'll install straight away. That's the only thing you have to do. It can take a while because it's quite a big extension, but once it's installed, you'll notice a couple of changes to your the editor. Most notably, this little flame down in the bottom left-hand corner. And if we click on that, we can actually see some output from Omnisharp. That's big enough. You guys can see that, right? So you can actually see that Omnisharp is starting a web server. Just, you know, it's listening on port 36024, and down here you can see that it's actually making requests to various endpoints. So it really is just how it's working. It's pretty simple. Next to that, you'll see we've got this little information tooltip here. This just tells you which project Omnisharp is looking at, which version of VNX it's using, and just a button to restart when it goes horribly wrong, which it shouldn't. And then it's slightly obscured because of the resolution, but there is a little error button here. And if I click on that, you can see we've got a series of errors. And if we go into the actual page here, you can see we've got a couple of things underlined. So this is the first thing that Omnisharp provides you with. It's error checking. It checks your entire solution for any errors, any warnings, and it will provide you with an easy way to find these errors. It's pretty nice, right? I mean, it's nice to have that. So the problem we have here is recommendations does not exist in the namespace Microsoft.code analysis. Well, that's fair enough. I don't have that referenced, so let's reference it. So this is a project.json file that I was talking about. And you'll see it's got a number of dependencies already referenced, and we need to add a new one. We need to add a reference to Roslyn. The actual library is called Microsoft.code analysis. And we can do this just by adding it in here. Now you'll see it comes up instantly with some IntelliSense here. So we can keep on typing Microsoft.code. This theme's falling down right about now. code analysis. And what's actually happening here is we are going off to NuGet, and we are doing a fuzzy search against all the NuGet packages and return a list of available packages. So it just makes it really easy for you to be able to add it in. We're not actually going straight to NuGet because that would be crazy because it's really slow. So we've got our own little repository which it calls out to. And then you can actually pick which version of a package you want. So I want version 1 RC2, and if I save a file, that's working. I'm always conscious that something behind me is not what I'm saying on my screen. It'll actually go off and it will actually get the package and restore it, which is great. So now we've got that. We can go back to the Roslyn controller. Ignore that error. And see that a lot of the errors have gone away. So now we've only got just about 3 errors. So let's have a look at another one. Project.json does not exist. Okay. Sorry, project, I don't know where JSON came from. Project doesn't exist. So this is obviously meant to be a local field. Should be up here. Now we could type it in, but who uses ReSharper? That's a lot of hands. Right, okay. So we all agreed that we don't write code anymore. All we do is press Alt-Enter. Code writes itself. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So that's the same idea. Now I'll bring up the command palette here, and if I type in Omnisharp, you'll see we've got a couple of options in here. Lots of things in here, and I'm looking for one called Get Code Actions. And this will bring up a little list down here with a couple of options. Generate read-only field. Wonder what that does. Just puts it in for you. So it's got refactorings. It's nice. So that's one of the errors gone. We've still got 2 left. Request. Request doesn't exist at the moment. So let's use the shortcut we all know well. Alt-Enter. That's all I do. And look for generate class request in Omnisharp.controllers. There you go. It's generated the class. There it is down the bottom. So we've got loads of these refactorings. We actually pull in a series of refactoring libraries that are out there. So pretty much everything that you'd expect to see in ReSharper, we've got most of it. Okay, so now that's all working. We've got no errors. Let's actually run the application. Okay, so I started. I'm actually using another NuGet package here called Kmon, and what this does is it just looks at your solution project, looks for any changes in the files. If there's a change in a file, it'll just restart the server. It saves you having to mess around and restart it every time. And let's bring up Chrome. It's working. So this is the little editor that I was talking about. You can see I've got a bit of code in here, and I'm wanting to add a bit of functionality to this, make it basically an Omnisharp Lite. So I'm going to try and add some rename functionality. I'm going to try and add some IntelliSense functionality. So let's go back to the editor. Okay. Let's lose that for now. So you remember how, oh, actually there is one thing which I need to sort here. This document's looking a bit rubbish. So the thing we always do before checking in. Yeah, okay. It's Control KD. Formats a document. Stops you screaming at all your other developers when they check in incorrectly formatted code. Okay, so as you saw in the slides, the way we really interact with Omnisharp, with Roslyn, is by having a workspace that has a project that has a series of documents. Now I've created what's known as an ad hoc workspace here. This is just a temporary workspace as part of a Roslyn library, and I've added a project to it. So I need to get, first thing I need to do before I can actually start interacting with this code file that I've created is I need to get hold of it, so I can pass it in as part of a request. And I can assign it to a document. So if I start typing here, you see again IntelliSense comes up. So this is a big one, right? This is the one everybody needs, is good, accurate IntelliSense. And it's important to note this is actually IntelliSense. This isn't just doing a scan of a current file and looking for symbols within the file. It's actually going away to a server, it's interrogating your solution, looking for reasonable recommendations and returning them. So workspace dot add document. I think it's this one I need, right? Okay, so it's got all the functions in there, nice little icons, tell you what it is, whether it's a function, whether it's a property, and the rest. We've also got snippets, so you know what you need to be passing in. It says I need a project ID. So let's pass in the project ID. It says I need to give it a name. So let's call it ad hoc document. It also says I need some source text. So I can get this from the actual request object. Like so. Save that. We've got a couple of errors. Buffer doesn't exist. Well, that's fair enough. Again, Alt Enter. It's down there somewhere. Is that the right one? Yeah, there you go. Add a property to a class. We try to convince everybody our job's hard, right? Okay. So once we've got the document, we need to get the source text from that document. Yeah, I really should have thought about this scene before, and apologies because the IntelliSense isn't looking quite as impressive as it normally does. So let's get the text. So this returns the source text for that document. And then, how do we know what we're wanting to rename? The way it works in Visual Studio is you rename whatever is under the cursor. So we do the same thing. We pass in the cursor position of the current editor, and then we can find the symbol under that cursor. So we get the symbol position. Get line. That's the one. Get position. See, IntelliSense. I knew I'd forget something, but the IntelliSense is there. It's great. And I need a new line position. So I can pass in a new line position, and I need a line, and I need a column. Again, let's just quickly create these. And we're good. Now, one thing I've got wrong every single time I've done this demo is I've passed in a line and a column the wrong way around. If we hover over here, I got it right way around. Yay! We actually provide documentation on all the methods as well. So you know it makes it really easy to write the code. So we've got the symbol position. The next thing we need is a symbol, and we can use the symbol finder. Okay. Now, one of the things I'm revealing here is actually how simple it is to work with Roslyn. We're not doing any crazy magic. We've got so much functionality in there to help you guys out. It really is quite impressive. We can give it the document, and we can give it the symbol position. What's wrong with that? Yes. Okay. And once we've got the symbol, let's check if it's null. And then once we've got the symbol, we can rename it. Now, this part is incredibly complex. It really is. So we've got to rename a function, right? We want to pass it the solution. We want to pass it the symbol, which we just found. We want to tell it what we want to rename it to, which we'll need creating. Alt Enter. I'm going to take a random guess that was the right one. We need to pass it an option set. I think I've created the wrong thing there. Oh, it's not there. Yeah, it's a lot easier when you can see the IntelliSense. Okay. Are we winning? We're winning. Okay. So what this rename does is it actually takes your current solution, it takes the symbol that you want to rename, what you want to rename it to, and it returns a brand new solution where that value, that symbol, has been renamed. Now, normally, after you've done this, you'd want to compare, there's functionality to be able to compare that solution against another solution. I mean, you can look for the deltas, the changes, and you can do whatever you like with that. But because we know we've only got one document, we can just get the new document. Dot projects. See, I've got a problem here. Didn't await it. Dot first. I won't pull it in. System.link. Dot documents. Dot first. Okay, and then once I've got that, I can get the new source code. And then I can return it. Is that right? That's good. Still got one error because I'm not returning null. And that's it. All this code here, this is pretty much all we do. The only difference is we put it in a web server and we expose it so all the editors can use it. It really is pretty simple to work with Roslyn. So if we save that, pray that it restarts. Now, if you look at this code, we've got an add method. The astute among you will notice that it's actually subtracting. So let's rename it. It worked. Oh God. Thank you. So relieved, right? So many times I've done that wrong. Okay, but that really is how simple it is to work with, and hopefully that's shown a little bit of a functionality that Omnisharp has. You know, I've written a full application there. I've made a few mistakes, but it worked okay. So let's take it a little bit further. I want to create some auto-completion as well. Now before I do that, I know I'm going to need some of the same code. I'm going to need a workspace. So let's highlight all this text. Alt-Enter, extract method. Bit of rubbish name, let's rename it. So we've got Omnisharp rename. Let's call it get document. Keep things dry. I'm going to need this as well, so we'll just do the same. This time you can just press Ctrl-R to rename it. We'll call that get symbol position async. Okay. Now I don't like these explicit types, so change those. And we can use these down here. Okay. Now, one other thing we're going to need for this is what's known as the semantic model. Now, Roslyn gives you access to two different views of your code. It gives you a view of your syntactic model, which is how your code is laid out in a tree-like structure. It also gives you access to a semantic model, which is the intention of your code, the meaning of your code. And for getting a series of auto-completions, that's what we're going to need. So we can get hold of a semantic model equals again, it's async. And then, again, another really, really, really tricky thing to do is get a series of recommendations. Bring in a using statement as well. All right. Get recommended symbols. Give it a semantic model. Give it a position. And give it your workspace. And then just return the list. Select the name. Save that. Hopefully no errors. No errors. Go back, reload it, and hopefully now we'll have some IntelliSense. We've got IntelliSense. So that's all pretty simple, right? I've kind of given away the big secret. Everybody thought, people might have thought Omnisharp was quite difficult, but it's really simple. So this is all writing code, but we also need to be able to read code. We also add some functionality for that as well. If you see down here, we've got 2 buttons that are not highlighting currently, but this one here. Let's see if it'll highlight. Enable or disable enhanced highlighting. Now, Atom does a really good job of highlighting C# code, but it's not perfect because it can't recognize when something's a class or whether it's just a string and so on and so forth. If you look here, you'll notice that when you enable it, the list icon gets highlighted as well. So we try and improve the syntax highlighting as well. We also have this button here, enable or disable code lens. You guys heard of code lens? Yeah? Okay, we got like a really simple version of it. If we highlight that, we should see, okay, very weakly, but we've got these little icons that appear next to all of our properties and all of our fields. If we click on there, we've got a list of every single place that code is referenced within the project. You can click through it, navigate you. So that's pretty cool. Helps you read it. We also have find symbol. So you can look for something like Workspace, we'll take you straight there. The other common one, go to definition, F12, takes you straight there. So we're trying to give you some functionality to help you be able to read the code as well. So there is some additional stuff within Omnisharp. So we do have the ability to run tests through Omnisharp, although we haven't shown that. We have test runners where you can highlight a test and run it, and it'll run it directly within Atom. We can build, we can also, obviously, Yeoman Generators, they can also be accessed from within Atom as well, and all the other editors. And that's kind of where we are right now, but, you know, it's not finished. We've still got a future. We've still got a lot of stuff to work on. We wanted to continue to add features to the server, so we wanted to add more refactorings, we wanted to add more ways to be able to navigate around your code. We wanted more editor extensions. Because of the way it's been built with the Omnisharp server, it means that it's so easy to add it to any other editors. One of the plans when I get back is we're going to start working on, well, possibly start working on a WebStorm extension, which would be great, so you'll be able to use Omnisharp in WebStorm. Support for other languages. We're also opening this Omnisharp up so it's extensible, which means that we'll be able to plug in support for other languages such as F#. Any VB developers in here? Okay, so we've got a few VB developers, but we might add VB. We'll see. We have support for script.cs. Have anybody heard of script.cs? Yeah. So script.cs is a really powerful scripting language. It's been written in C#. I highly recommend you check it out. So we have support for script.cs in there as well, and lots more. We really are looking for feedback. You know, we're wanting people to use this. We're wanting people to tell us what we need to build. You know, but at the end of the day, this is a tool for the developers, and we need feedback. So if any of you guys do use it and you have any feedback, please send it our way. We really would appreciate it. Now this is a big one. Okay, did anybody notice that I didn't show any debugging? Yeah, okay. You might have noticed that. But we don't really need debugging because we all write enough unit tests that our code doesn't need debugging. Okay, I'm going to take from the laughter that maybe you don't. Okay, I don't think I do either. But anyway, debugging is a big thing. We don't have it yet. We've talked about it. It is going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So it will come in the future. It's just a matter of time. And that is actually quite tricky, as opposed to the other stuff. Now, normally, when you go to a talk, it's nice to walk away. Everybody always ends a talk on a message that you should take away, a message to finish the talk with. I'm showing a tool, so I don't really have one other than go use it, which would be great, please. Now, my friend Adam gave a talk yesterday about getting involved in open source software and how easy it is to do. He actually contributed to, did any of you guys go to his talk? Yeah, so people went, yeah. How easy it is to contribute to an open source project. This project, which we've got, has been going on for a long time now. You may recognize people like David Fowler. He wrote something called Signal R. I don't know what that is. We've had a lot of contributors, but we are really looking for more. So, and we're not evil people. If you really want to try, you know, contributing to open source software, come speak to us. We'll help you out in any way we can. And we're not evil. A couple of us may be evil, but most of us are nice. So if I've got one message to give you guys, it would be to, you know, go out there and contribute to open source software. And if you really do want to try it, come speak to us and we'll help you the whole way. And we won't flame your pull request, we promise. So that's pretty much it. If you want to get involved, that's the website, omnisharp.net. We have a room on Jabber. Some of the guys who work on a project are very nocturnal, so there's always somebody in there. So come chat to us, the GitHub repository, and finally a Twitter handle that we occasionally share news on. So thank you for coming. I hope you liked what you saw, and I hope you'll consider using it and escape the chains of Visual Studio. But if anything, I hope you just at least found it a little bit interesting. So thank you very much.